In the last section, we got our first taste of a map in Go. So we saw one syntax right here for declaring a map with some initial values assigned to it. I now want to take a glance at two other ways that we can declare a map. So I'm going to comment out this existing code block right here, and we're going to add two additional ways right above it, just to see the syntax. Now the first one is going to use that kind of familiar var syntax that we've seen a couple times before. So we'll say var colors, and then we'll declare the type of variable that we're declaring here. So we're going to say that it's a map where all the keys are of type string and all the values are of type string as well. Now we could save this file, flip back over to our terminal, run the program again, and it'll print out an empty map. So remember that whenever we declare a new variable in Go, if we do not assign an actual value to it, Go will initialize it with its 0 value. So the 0 value of a map is basically just an empty map. So it has no key value pairs inside of it. We'll usually take this type of approach right here of declaring out a map with the var keyword if we want to kind of figure out later on what values or what key value pairs we want to add onto it. Now we can also create a map with a slightly different syntax by saying colors, :equals, and then in this case we're going to use a built-in function in Go to create this new map. We'll say make, and then we'll pass in the type of map that we want to create. So we'll say map string string, like so. So these two lines of code right here are pretty much equivalent for all intents and purposes. This will create a new map with no values inside of it, where all the keys are of type string and all the values are of type string as well. Now, if we want to, for some reason, create an empty map with either of these approaches right here, and then later add in some values, that's totally appropriate. We can certainly do that. So we can add values into an existing map by using the square braces syntax that you might have seen with other languages. So we can say down here, maybe we want to add in an extra key value pair for the color white to our colors object. So we'll place the name of the map, our square braces. Inside of here, we'll place the key that we want to add. So maybe we'll add in white, and then we'll say this is equal to the value, and we'll put in the hex code for white, like so. Now we'll save this, flip back over to the terminal, run it again, and sure enough, we get our key value pair added. Now, one syntax that we had seen a little bit ago with structs was the dot syntax. So when we were using structs, we saw that we could do something like struct name dot, I don't know, white. So we do not get this type of syntax with maps. If we want to access an individual key, we have to use these square braces and then put in the actual name or the appropriate value of the key right here. The reason for this is that all the keys inside of our map are typed. And so when we put down the square braces right here, the key that we provide right here has to be of the appropriate type. So for if some reason, rather than saying that we had a map with all keys of type string, if we had said that we had a map with keys of type int, like so, well then when we use the square brace syntax right here, we would instead say something like any valid int, so maybe like 10. And so you can kind of imagine that using the dot syntax right here wouldn't quite work out, because then we would have to do something like that, which does not quite make a lot of sense with maps. So we always make sure that we use the square brace syntax with maps. Now just to kind of test this out and see how it works with an int, let's save it and run it again. So I'll save, and there we go. So now we've got 10 is pointing out the value FFF. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to delete keys and values off of an existing map. So we can use another built-in function for this, and this built-in function is called the delete function. So we can pass in our map and then the key that we want to delete out of the map. So we'll pass in our map, and then maybe we want to delete the key value pair with a key of 10. So as the second argument, we'll pass in 10, like so. Now let's save it and run it again. And when we do so, we see that we're back to a completely empty map, just like before. Okay, so two more things I want to show you in the next video. I want to spend a little bit of time to show you exactly how we can iterate over a map, and then I also want to show you a little bit about the differences between a map and a struct, because I'm sure at this point that's one of the big questions you have. Where would we use a map versus struct? So let's take a quick break, come back in the next section, and figure out how to iterate over a map.